Hi, Bob.
Hi, Kath. I gotta get my microphone organized here. Here
Ah,
it is.
I can hear you.
Uh, now I can hear you better.
Okay, good.
There, getting all the right switches switched to the right sound levels. And Rick is going to do sort of the internal moderating tonight. Just
Oh, Rick Winter.
yes. So
Okay,
he,
okay.
that was something that uh, Danielle was sort of interested in, having somebody from ECCBC do one.
Sure. I think,
So,
yeah.
so just to
Okay,
let you know, yeah, I'll do the setup as
okay.
usual. I just wanted to
Sounds fine.
let you know. Now, were you able to take your trip over the weekend?
I was, yeah.
How was
Was
it out and about in the real world?
we went, we have a house in Winter Park
Okay.
and we went over Trail Ridge, which works fine, except now you have to be a little more coordinated because you have to get a reservation to go
Yes.
through if you want to go between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Okay.
We've always been sort of we're driving out of the driveway and we say, well, which way shall we go today? Through the park or I-70? And
Yes,
can't quite do that
I
right
get
at
it.
the moment. So you have to be a little more coordinated, but we were able to go up and go through. And then when we came back after 5 o'clock, you don't have to have a reservation.
Okay,
So we
that was
came
good.
back, and that's really the best time to come back because the moose are out on
Very
the
good.
Grand Lake end.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, it was very nice.
we had a friend do that drive. Didn't go over. Did the drive up and back
Uh-huh.
last Wednesday or something, and she was just, or maybe it was Tuesday, but she just thought it was great. They got their reservation and were able to go, and it was just it was nice to get out and about. She really
Yeah, yeah,
really
absolutely. And when we got over to Grand Lake and then into Winter Park, there were a lot of people
yeah.
in both towns, and it seemed kind of sort of a mixed bag of people wearing masks or not, or but everybody was fine, and the restaurants are pretty much open, and but you have to have a mask to go in.
Right. That makes
Um,
sense.
and they all have, similar to the things that we're doing here, they're all putting seating outside and
Okay.
um, that kind of thing, but seem to be not business as usual, but getting there.
Yeah, but open for business, which is good.
Open for
Yeah,
business,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
good. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Hi, Rick. Nice hat.
Is that the MC hat?
Yes, it's the MC hat.
Okay.
I could have given it to you before. Uh,
Yes, and we're passing the hat tonight.
right.
Oh, good. Good, good, good. I'm kind of looking forward to Elizabeth. I don't know if she's going to get into her entire story, but they not only sort of closed down and they're reopening, this week this week, um, on Wednesday, but they literally changed curriculum and did a whole series of things, and she's new to the process. So
Oh, really?
there's a whole series of stories just in that one transition.
Wow, cool.
It must be sort of like you see a lot of restaurants and coffee shops, and they've taken this time to remodel, change things around, get new carpeting, whatever that they maybe couldn't get to before.
Yeah.
So maybe those were all things they wanted to do and just hadn't gotten to them.
Yes. Yeah. I wish a few of the city council folks here in Boulder had decided that it would be a good time to kind of resurface some of the roads. That would have been a real nice thing. That unfortunately has not happened.
Well,
Those holes
seems
that
like
were there 4 months ago are still mostly there are growing, as they say.
Seems like every place I want to drive here, they are doing the road. So I don't know which is worse.
Well, yeah, I know. I'd probably be complaining if I had your situation as well. Oh. And Rick, I'll just break in probably, 5 minutes to 8, just to
Okay.
kind of, whenever there's a pause in the, or a handoff, just to let you know. So you'll have to worry about, checking the clock all the time.
Okay, cool.
There's one of our friends. Hello.
Hi, Amy.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
No, it's
It's great to
exciting.
have you.
This is the time that we always are a little nervous, whether everybody's going to join and how fast they join, et cetera, et cetera. So there's
There, now
Councilman
I have.
Waters. Hello, Tim.
Good evening. I'm
Oh,
going
hi,
to
Beth.
turn my video off again.
Oh.
Bob, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Plenty going on, including trying to track down where the federal COVID money is going. So that's kind of keeping us busy.
Well, hopefully somebody will be interested in evaluating.
Well,
effects.
yeah, we're trying to track at the moment. You can evaluate what it bought shortly, but yes, who's where, as they say. Hi, Nicole.
Hi guys, how is everybody?
Good.
Glad to hear it. Rick, I love your hat. You look amazing.
Thank you. It's my MC hat.
I love it. I love it.
Bob, I wanted to ask you, are you just tracking that money just for fun, or you
No,
have a client that cares? Or?
Yeah, the first of all, a lot of people want to know about it, but the most we had a contract with the federal government to track federal title funds and IDEA, which is special ed resources. That about 3 months in or 4 months in, people got nervous, and then they got the pandemic hit, and then the COVID money hit, and then they said, well, what if you tracked the COVID funds? And so that's kind of where we are. Welcome to everybody. Hello. Hi, Bob.
Hello, other Bob.
Yes. The altar Bob. Yeah.
You know, I once worked for a company that had about 120 employees, and there was 9 people named Bob or Bobby.
Yeah. Wow.
Bobby was the best one. She was really cute.
Yeah. And probably the most productive of all of them, but that's a different story. Oh my. and it's just 7 o'clock now, and we usually wait a minute or two more, maybe 7:03 or 7:04 before we kick things off. So just everybody get comfortable, and we'll be kicking off shortly.
Can you put that?
Bob, all of the panelists are on.
Yes, yes, no, that's excellent. Yes, I can tell that we have a quasi full house because I'm in gallery view, and the pictures are getting smaller and smaller as people log
For
in.
some of us, that's a good thing.
Yeah, right.
agree.
I'd say for us as a majority, that's probably true. All right. Well, I think we had a big burst of joiners a minute or two ago, and I know a couple of the people said they would be a little late. So I think we'll go ahead and start. My name is Bob Polite, and I wanted to welcome everybody who's on the Zoom meeting. First of all, I wanted again to say thank you to Kathy Hall, who's kind of put the technology on this together and sends out the invitation. So really appreciate that. Tonight is our sixth get together here in this effort to try to listen to both the parents in Longmont and Boulder County and to providers. And tonight we're taking a good listen to those who are operating centers, and we'll let every one of you introduce both yourselves and your center and give us your story. I have moderated a couple of these, but tonight Rick Winter, who is working with the Early Childhood Council of Boulder County, is going to run the session. And just to let everybody know, the session is recorded, and a combination of Kathy and Darcy, who is on the call, do an excellent job of providing the summary highlights from the session from their notes on what you'll share with us. So we have both a recorded hour, but also a summary of the highlights. So without further ado, Rick, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you. I am going to mute my microphone, and I would suggest that all those who are not speaking do that. If you want to either ask a question or make a comment, you can raise your hand and Rick will recognize you. But we mostly stay pretty focused on the panelists that we've invited. And so that's the way we'll do it here. So Rick, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Bob. I'm honored that you asked me to moderate this session, so I wear my moderator hat for all of you. And essentially what I'll be doing is asking 5 questions. And we'll do, essentially, if it's okay with you, I'll just the same order that was on the list. So Beth will go first, Amy second, Elizabeth third, Ashley Jackson fourth, and then Ashley Edwards fifth. Does that sound okay with everyone? Okay. So the first question is, could you introduce your center, as Bob asked, when answering the first question, and maybe how many children before the coronavirus, their ages, and what geographic areas? And then be prepared to share a story describing your situation that's the result of the pandemic. So if Beth, you wouldn't mind kicking us off?
Okay, great. So I had seen the questions in the email and I wrote a little something, but first I'll start with our center. We had about, let's see, close to 40 students before the pandemic, and we take children from 1 to 6. We have 2 classrooms, a toddler room and a preschool room, and we offer full-time or part-time options. So just a couple days a week or 5 days a week. So we're pretty small center. We're located in Lafayette. And so I wrote this up for, this sounds like it's number 1 on your questions. So it was a well thought decision to close in March. We have a teacher who has lung issues. We have a director who's over 75. We have staff who are pregnant. And it wasn't clear how bad COVID-19 would be in Colorado at that time. So for the best interest of our staff and children, we closed in March. We did not request tuition from families in April or May as we were closed and parents had lost their jobs. We did ask parents if they were able to pay and wanted that we could forward that payment to our staff and for our school fees. Several parents did pay for April, which helped us. We have a mixture of families, some wanting and who had wanted to return right away as soon as possible, and others wanting to wait till 2021. So it's sort of a mixture at our center of what parents are looking for. We are not yet open right now. We're planning to open at the end of August with the school year. And I'm very nervous about that with all the changes in regulations, including doing laundry every day. We do not currently have a laundry facility on our site. And so there's a lot to prepare for. Also, our director is over 75, so she'll need to still stay at home and not join us with the governor's orders, safer at home over 65. So we have to solve that too, that problem. Parents, again, have different requests. Some want their children to wear masks and others don't want their children to wear masks. So this will be hard to meet everybody's needs going forward as well with this pandemic. So we're going to have a lot of questions to answer based on those different needs. We lost a preschool teacher as well while we were closed. She took a different job. And also it looks like we might need to increase our staff due to COVID-19. We'll need somebody to take temperatures and do the medical checks when kids arrive. Not sure how we will fund that as we're such a small school, so we don't have extra floaters running around to just add to a room and that kind of thing. I have been the assistant director at Montessori Academy, and now I will be the director, and we are trying to get a waiver from Human Services so I can continue to work just in the building next door, just down the driveway, where I have been working for years. It's about 30 feet down the driveway. Human Services, unfortunately, won't let us know until the middle of August if they'll approve that, because we're not currently opened. They have said that request is not a COVID-19 request for a waiver. So those are all some of the things we're up against right now.
Wow, thank you very much, Beth. That was very thorough. Amy.
Hi there, my name is Amy Maziars. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. My neighbor just started mowing their lawn, so I'm so sorry.
We can hear you.
Great, thank you. I am the program director at Boulder Day Nursery. I am really fortunate to work with an organization that is 102 years old. So previous to COVID-19, we really thought we had it dialed in. We have learned in the last 6 months that we know nothing and have not planned accordingly for anything. We joked, I would take that back in a heartbeat now, that we were open during the Spanish flu and we did not close. We opened because of World War I. We were there to help families who were forced to have working moms for the first time in our society. Before that, men went to work and women stayed home with their families, sisters, cousins, aunts, grandparents, and took care of kiddos. At this point, we kind of feel like we're getting back to that. People are having to choose between safe working conditions and safe home conditions with their families. We are a NACE accredited school. We're super tiny. We only have 4 classrooms. So right now we're only able to open 3 of them. We did open back up on May 11th after we were closed for about 7 weeks. We also did not charge tuition to our families during that time because we knew that would be a big stretch. Our families pay tuition on a sliding scale based upon their income. Some of our families pay $12 a month and some of them pay just over $2,000 a month. Even for some of those families paying $12 a month, they have applied for assistance at this point. That $12 is simply stretching them too thin. We have a infant classroom that we used to have 8 infants in. We currently only have 3. We had 2 toddler classrooms that used to have a combined total of 16 children. We currently only have 7 children total. And our preschool classroom was licensed for 30. We were planning to have as many as 28 this summer with staggered schedule. And again, we're keeping that number at 10 out of significant concerns with the health department and licensing rules changing so rapidly. Everything is just changing on such a regular basis that we feel like we can't really go past those initial restrictions and take it any steps further before we really know what's happening.
Cool. Thank you very much, Amy. Okay, next is Elizabeth.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elizabeth. Thanks for having me. I am the director of the Aspen Center for Child Development in Longmont, and I stepped into the director role at the school in January. So very soon after stepping into this new context, we all stepped into a new context. So that is something that has been quite interesting. So the Aspen Center is a nonprofit preschool, level 5-star rated by Colorado Shines. And we're a part of a bigger nonprofit system, family resource center called the Our Center here in Longmont. Many of our families, we're a relatively small school, 5 classrooms, about 50 children if we're fully enrolled. And most of our families are, or many of our families rather, are low income, working with a sliding scale tuition, CCAP families, and about 25% are single family, where children come from a single parent family. So, you know, pre-pandemic, we were a bustling school with children and teachers and families being very social in lots of different ways and throughout our hallways and shared spaces between children and teachers. And so a really close community. We closed on March 13th and have been closed since, but we're gonna open on Wednesday. So in 2 days we're gonna open. And we're really excited. We're nervous, but also excited. We've tried several times during the pandemic to reopen and have had to delay for different reasons. The first time was because of the stay-at-home order, and then one of our teachers had been exposed to a positive case of COVID. We'd all been working together, so we had then all had that contact with someone who had been exposed, and we all needed to quarantine. And then other reopenings were delayed due to families just not feeling comfortable returning quite yet, which meant that we didn't have enough revenue to offset daily operations. We also have several teachers who fall into that vulnerable population category. So several different reasons for having to delay our reopening, but we're looking forward to the Wednesday opening. Where we used to have an infant room that was full, we're not able to open our infant room in July because there were not enough babies returning. In August, we hope, you know, that's going to look differently. We had 2 toddler classrooms that had 16 toddlers, and in July we've had to combine those rooms so that we will have a total of 6 toddlers. And then pre-pandemic, we had a preschool room for children who were 3 and 4 and a pre-K room for children 4 to 6. Opening for July, we have had to combine those ages, now going to a 3 to 5 type program with 12 children. And we were really hoping to have 2 groups of 10 in the beginning of 3 to 5 year olds. But the families were not comfortable enough to warrant opening 2 classrooms. And it came right at the time that public health extended the group size from 10. So even though we're not quite comfortable with a larger group size of children, it was a way to accommodate families and be able to open at least for 12, 13 of our families with older children. We haven't charged tuition since March, but our teachers have been doing some indirect services with families, and I'm sure we'll get into that because I know that's another question. But yeah, it's been a lot of learning for everyone, a lot of challenges, and we're just trying to stay hopeful that this new normal will continue to present learning opportunities for all of us.
Wow. Thank you, Elizabeth, especially since you're going to be opening on Wednesday. Yes. You must be really busy.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. Okay, Ashley Jackson, could you go? Are you still here? Looks like you're trying to talk, but we can't hear you.
Anybody?
Now we can hear you. Okay, you went out again. Okay, how about while Ashley is working on that, we'll have the other Ashley Edwards, go.
Hi, I'm the other Ashley. I'm the director at Junior Jets in Longmont. We are owned by the Federal Aviation Administration, and we stayed open through the entire pandemic. We shut early on for 3 days when we thought we had a case, but other than that, we've remained fully operational. Pre-pandemic, we run at about 80 kids every day with 6 classrooms, an infant room, 2 toddler rooms, 2 preschool rooms, and a pre-K room. When everything first started happening, we had the stay-at-home order in place, and we went down to about 15 kids providing care for air traffic controllers and essential personnel, and we were still only at 15. We kept all of our teachers on staff, and then when things started opening up a little bit more, we opened up. We still only have 4 of our 6 classrooms open. Our infant room tends to run at about 8. We have anywhere between 1 and 4 babies right now. Our 2 toddler programs, we have down to 1 because of the shared spaces. So when we could have 24 toddlers, we have 10. Our 2 preschool rooms we've combined, so we could have 36 and we have 10. And in our pre-K room, we could have 24 and we still have 10 as well. We are staying capped at the 10, even though licensing capacity is allowed to be kind of where it's at. We're still not comfortable and can't figure out exactly how to make that work for everything. So we are limiting our rooms to 10 and are running at about 35 to 40 kids every day. So that's making it challenging for us as well. It was interesting, I don't know if this is the right word, to stay open through the whole thing. And when the changes were coming in so quickly, especially at the beginning, kind of growing with that. We feel like we're in a pretty good space right now, but kind of not knowing what's coming next is where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashley. Okay, is the other Ashley back on? Ashley Jackson?
And Rick, just say to Ashley, if she needs any sort of technical help, she could call my cell phone at 303-638-6725. I have sent her a note in chat, but
Okay.
just to say that out loud so that if she can hear it, that'd be fine.
Do you want to try again, Ashley?
Anybody hear me? Can anybody
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
Are you there?
We can hear
Can
you
you hear
now.
me?
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay, thank
So
you for
exciting.
being patient. Yes. Okay. I am with the Longmont Goddard. My owners built that center 15 years ago, and they have 2 schools. We were fortunate enough to never close, but saw a drastic drop in tuition. So we were at about 135 kids, and then we're at a low of 25 kids. So we've worked through keeping our staff of 30 somewhat employed. We've never had to fire or let anybody go, but just kind of the challenge of getting them enough hours to keep them employed and supported. Right now, our biggest growth and opportunity and thing that I just want to share with you guys is that there is a huge need for services for kids. And so that's where I see us coming in right now, is just giving those essential workers the space to keep their kids so they can keep serving the community and working. It's been really great to have everybody come together and meet new families that way.
I'm glad you were finally able to get your voice.
Yes, me too.
Okay, the second question is, so what was your childcare or situation before the pandemic, and what does the future look like for the center in the next 6 months, and what are your primary concerns in that 6 months window? And we'll start again with Beth.
Okay, great. And again, I wrote something up, so I'll just first speed, I'll read it here. We were at full capacity. We had a wonderful community of teachers, children, families at our school. The weekend prior to our school shutting down, we had actually had a fundraiser. We raised $10,000 for our new preschool play structure from donations from local businesses in the community and from our families purchasing the items, and from a local restaurant donating their space for our event. And then 5 days later, we were closed. In the next 6 months, we've had to, so I'm thinking of the 6 months from that time, we've had to lay off our staff, 4 teachers who are now on unemployment. And one is actually, one of those 4 has taken another job since then. And again, our director can't return because she is over 75. We have been applying in this time period for all the grants we can find to help pay for our base costs, which are about $4,500 a month without salaries. We're planning on opening again in August. Our biggest concern is paying again for our base cost, our reopening cost, and also for preparing to reopen. To reopen, we need a new teacher who's director qualified, who can be our substitute director. I've heard from other directors that we need to do laundry now with the new regulations. They've been doing them throughout the day, but everything needs to be, the nap materials have to be washed daily, the sheets, and we again don't have a washer and dryer on our location. So that is a really big one for us, is how we will do laundry and how we would even, is it possible to put a washer and dryer? You can't, the health department won't let you put it in the kitchen, and then they won't let you put it in the adult bathroom. And our school is very small. It's 2 classrooms with an adult bathroom and a kitchen and entry. So our choices are in one of the classroom closets or in the entry. So it's not very big choices there, but I feel like that's the best way to keep everybody safe, is if we have a washer and dryer on site so we can be sure everything's being cleaned daily. Let's see. And so again, with that, we'll need to hire a plumber to plumb and get the washer and dryer in. Let's see. Then that would be more economical, we think, than paying a teacher probably about $40 a day to do the laundry off-site. So yeah, that's about it. That's what I have right now.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Amy?
So Boulder Day is primarily grant funded. We're really lucky that one of our major funders is actually the city of Boulder. We have been super fortunate to receive a huge grant that actually funds about 1/6 of our operating costs this year and last year. Just last week or so, we heard from the city of Boulder that they will not nearly be able to offer anywhere near that amount of funding, unfortunately, because that money was generated by sales tax throughout the city and no one is out shopping right now. We are going to take a big hit on that. And so that was a pretty devastating blow for us to hear, kind of looking ahead. You know, right now we're doing okay. For 2020, we're working through all of our grant reports, and they are pitiful. Honestly, all we had committed to doing for this first half of 2020 are honestly not happening at all. Our grant funders have been super supportive of that and very understanding, but next year could be a real challenge for us, knowing that right off the bat we could potentially lose 1/6 of our funding moving forward. And tuition, as I mentioned, you know, even though we do have about 30 families in care or hoping to start care again by August at $12 a month, that's not gonna cut it and get us very far.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, Elizabeth?
Hi. So we also are mostly dependent upon grants for our funding. And we have been scrambling and applying for every grant we can possibly find. It's been a challenge to find things that are supportive of early childhood care and education settings, but we just keep putting it out there and trying. And I think, you know, it's just a big need of ours, along with rebuilding our enrollment so that our revenue can begin offsetting teacher salaries, daily operation costs. You know, a lot of what Beth and Amy have already said rings true for the Aspen Center as well. You know, we provide sliding scale tuition and support CCAP families, and every little bit helps, but still there has to be revenue coming in order to, or funding coming in to help us move forward and get into a sustainable place to stay open and functioning. And And, during the pandemic, we did have to furlough our teachers for a while from March to April. And that carried us through until until June 15th. And then June 15th, we had to furlough a few teachers as well as modify the other teachers' schedules until this reopening period. And then hopefully we can resume normal staffing again in August. Within the next 6 months, I think it's going to be a lot of challenges, just again, like staying afloat, staying in operation, finding the funding that we need to operate not only a safe space for children and teachers, preparing for COVID and all of the new systems and practices and policies that we've had to implement has been costly. And the disinfectant is expensive, and all of the gloves and the cleaning supplies and the personal protection equipment it's costly, and it's not the fun stuff you want to be spending your grant dollars on necessarily. We'd much rather be spending it on materials to support children's learning, and so that's the downside.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks.
Ashley Edwards.
So we get a lot of our funding from, well, not a lot. Some of our funding comes from the FAA. So our janitorial and our rent and all of that is taken care of from the FAA. The rest of our revenue is generated by tuition. We were lucky enough to be recipients of the PPP loan, so that helped us for a little bit, but that only lasts for so long, and we're kind of at the end of that. So we're relying on our tuition now to support our teacher salaries to keep everybody employed. So we're kind of struggling with how to go about that. And I think the next 6 months, it's incredibly unclear and uncertain how we're going to stay afloat when we want to continue keeping all of our teachers on, but we can't serve all of our families. And so our revenue is cut in half at least. And it's just so much unknown with what the future holds and what the next 6 months is going to come with all of that. So it's a bit scary with not knowing how you're going to remain operational, and each day brings new changes and you just don't know what you're going to do next.
Does sound very scary. Okay, thank you. Ashley Jackson, you're next.
I think what I want to share most is the uncertainty that goes with the next 6 months. There's lots of conversations about the next wave, and so that's bringing a lot of just fear to teachers and us, as like we don't want to have a case pop up. So we're being extra cautious to be on our toes. The big thing that is from this fear is this conversation of things are now going to be harder to find, those essential items that are keeping us safe right now. So this is a huge one right now. Disinfectant was a challenge to find. So that's what's going to be the next 6 months, is really preserving those items and finding ways to use them, and distributors that are going to have those supplies that aren't going to
I think we might have lost you at that last sentence. Okay, well, if when we try around in the next round, we'll see if you can get back. Okay, the third question is, were you able to work within your families? And it does sound like some of you were open during the stay-at-home phase. So if you were able to work with families, Did you have difficulty with technology access, just like we're having now? And what teaching strategy have you used with children during the shutdown? Are you back, Ashley?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So do you want to finish up? We heard the last I remember hearing is talking about having to find ways for distributors of your supplies.
Yeah, I would say that's the upcoming next thing that's on our mind is how can we keep everybody healthy without the cost of these things that we're required to have and need to have not going through the roof. That's all that I pretty much have on that one.
Thank you very much. I'm glad we got you back.
Thank you.
Okay, so Beth, again, this is sort of the stay-at-home phase. If you had technology access difficulties with the families and the school, or what teaching strategies did you use with the children during shutdown?
So we were closed and our teachers decided they were going to Zoom with the families while we were closed. So they were not paid for that, but they just did that on the side to keep the community, our school community connected. And they were also on unemployment because they were unemployed. So we couldn't support that for them because they were on unemployment, or it would have affected their unemployment. So I don't know if they had technology issues when they were doing that. Now, just at the beginning of the summer, the second week in June, we started offering it through the school with our teachers, and we're paying our teachers to Zoom with the families twice a week. I guess it's lower than their unemployment because it's not going to pay them a full salary to Zoom twice a week. And so nor will families be interested in paying for that at that rate. And we just request that families pay what they can for it. And some parents can pay and some can't. And it's sort of turned out that it will work to cover the teachers, the families that can pay. So some pay nothing. And we do have CCAP families, and those we ask that they don't pay because they certainly can't afford it. So yeah, that's what we've been doing. And so right now through the summer, the school is paying for Zoom sessions, and it seems to be working in terms of technology, although the children are not necessarily terribly excited about it from what I can tell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amy?
We were able to reach out to many of our families while we were closed for those 7 weeks. We certainly by no stretch were able to reach all of them. In addition to just having access to computers and internet, time was a huge factor with accommodating all of our families. We were able to keep our entire staff on because of the PPP loan. And so our staff were kind of staggering all throughout every day, basically. There would usually be something happening on Zoom if a family was able to access it. I think before COVID, all of our families did not even have an email address. Now they all do. I think that, that has been one good thing, but it's still really challenging, to learn in a pandemic how to use the internet and email and check your email, and being expected to check all of that is a real challenge that we didn't really factor into that. And so there's been a huge communication breakdown between our staff and our families. And quite honestly, unfortunately, even though we've been open for 8 weeks at this point, it still exists because we have the curbside drop off and pickup now. I shuffle all of the children back and forth from their cars to the classroom. And so I am the only person in the entire building who communicates with the families on a regular basis outside of email, texting, social media, things like that, and Zoom. And so for our families who really don't for that, we're still struggling with the communication with them.
Thank you. Interesting. Elizabeth?
Yeah, we have been in contact with our families indirectly. So in March, when the teachers were furloughed, I started connecting with families through social media, just trying to keep that relationship going. And then in April, when the teachers returned, they began really some fun ways of staying in relationship with families. We didn't run into any problems with people not having access, or at least communicating with us that they didn't have access to technology. They, people were using their phones and their computers a lot. Pre-pandemic, I would say that our school wasn't necessarily technology savvy. So it took some learning and some vulnerability on our side to get to the point of wanting to do, Zoom conversations and Facebook Live events and videotaping themselves reading books and singing songs. But now it's kind of a part of our culture, and there are Zoom conversations that are being hosted between children every week, along with some sort of live event or pre-recorded event, like a song circle or a morning meeting. And a really fun turn of events, the older children have begun partnering with their teachers to plan the agenda for the next week's Zoom conversation, which has been a really fun experience to have them partner with us to kind of plan what their 30 minutes is going to look like. And sometimes it's longer than 30 minutes. Sometimes it's an hour, and it's really great. We just have to be flexible with that. And then we also try to think of things not necessarily virtual, but still with that distance. So we delivered art packets to families, bookmaking materials, some seeds, so they could do some container gardening. And then more recently, because we're a partner or a participant in the Boulder County Farm to Early Childhood program, we started hosting live cooking shows once a week, sending families the recipe ahead of time with an invitation, because it happens on the same day at the same time every week. So families are invited to join us. They're given the recipe list, and then the teachers, put together the recipe in their cooking show while the children are watching from home. And then we've started a blog as well, so families, teachers can post invitations or ideas for supporting children's learning at home. And it's been an interesting way for teachers to think about how they want to engage with technology as well. So they've kind of compartmentalized it that each day of the week they post something that's a little bit different. So one day is an invitation for children to participate in an activity. Maybe the next day is something around the power of play. Another day, parent information or parent education, developmental milestones for your 6-month-old. And so they've also kind of taken it on their own and developed it into something that they're excited about, which has been a fun outcome, unintended consequence of this experience.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Ashley Edwards?
I feel like might have done not quite as much technological learning as everybody else seems to have been doing. Since we were open at the beginning, pretty early on, we asked our teachers to do one set of lesson plans for what we were doing for the children who were in our care, and then translate that into an at-home learning activity. We learned pretty quickly that the materials we have at our school are far different from what the parents have available to them at home. So we more or less asked our teachers to make 2 different sets of lesson plans And then we were sending that out to our families and being available to support them. Primarily that came from myself and the assistant director. Most of the assistant director took on the at-home learning, and then I stayed in touch with our families via email on the latest changes through the health department and licensing and all of that different things. So we kind of tackled it. I took the COVID side and she took the learning side, and then we asked our teachers to just kind of provide us with everything in between. We didn't do anything Zoom related, I think mostly just because we were trying to finagle how to provide care the whole time while everything was still changing, and it just wasn't feasible for us to go about that. So we just emailed out different activities to stay in touch with our families, but we have never emailed so much in our lives, and we plan on continuing to do that right now. It's working well for our families. They seem to enjoy it, and we are also encouraging our families to participate in weekly music classes through Music Care that we were doing in-house. So we do that with our older classrooms all spaced out amongst the room, and then a lot of our parents are participating in that and they're really enjoying it. So we are encouraging that as well.
Cool. Thank you, Ashley. Ashley Jackson.
All right, I hope the third time my audio doesn't cut out. I'm here. We had such a high demand to take the learning to the families that were still committed to us but weren't attending school. So we did out daily lesson plans that we would send to the families. It was a problem that they didn't have all the supplies, and that they also were like, I don't know how to do some of the stuff you're asking. So we then ended up setting up weekly Zoom conferences. It started as this question and answer between teachers and families, but then it turned into being like an actual live lesson for some of the students that were home. And it just made everybody stay connected that way. So we did that for a very long time. We've kind of laid off of those things because we've just had such more kids coming back and coming to the school. In addition to that, we have not a live, but a YouTube channel where each teacher was required to post an activity each week so that the parents could hop on there and either sing the morning song with them or do some science activity and have everything that they needed to guide them through that on YouTube. And then I like the cooking channel, so I thought I would share about, we did a parade. We got all in our cars and we drove to the different families' houses and honked and sang and did all that stuff, fun stuff too. So that's what we did.
Thank you, Ashley. It does sound like fun. Okay, the next question is, what are you most concerned about as you're working to reopen your center? So obviously people are in different stages of that. Beth?
Yeah, so we're again hoping to open at the end of August with the school year. And I mentioned a lot of these so far. Our laundry is the biggest thing. The expense of getting the machines and plumbing it and where to put it in. Paying our bills between now and then, our base expenses. Having enrollment to cover the salaries of the teachers. It sounds like that's a problem for a lot of schools. We have families that are saying they're going to go to other schools because they couldn't wait for us to open. And we also have families saying that due to COVID-19, they're going to wait till 2021 to come back to school. Another concern is keeping the children 6 feet apart once they start. Also getting the supplies we need, such as the masks, hand sanitizers, and the additional gloves. Cleaning the school is a big concern for us because we don't want to have extra people come in and out of the building. So how will we set it up so the staff can have enough time in their shift to clean the room every day? And also the medical checks every day on the children. How are we going to do that? Do we need an additional staff member? If somebody's outside doing that, then we will be out of ratio inside. So yeah, those are the big ones.
Oh, thank you, Beth. Amy?
I have so many concerns, honestly. I try to wrap my head around something coherent to report to you. I think my biggest concern is that I feel like we've let down our community, and that we will continue to let down our community no matter how hard we work and how much we plan for. There's just constant change right now. And we won't be able to continue not charging our families tuition. We're going to have to start asking them to pay, and that's going to feel very hard. I think my biggest concern for the kids is that they've had lifelong friends. You know, our kiddos start somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks generally, and about 95% of our families stay with us from birth through kindergarten, so until they're between 5 or 6. That's not happening right now. So that's a huge shift for the children, and, you know, with no explanation for them. We usually hire a therapist to come work with our 5-year-olds before they head off to kindergarten, and saying goodbye and see you soon to these kids that they've spent 40 hours a week with for their entire lives. Obviously, that's not happening right now. And then, you know, you do just worry every day, like, is today the day my staff will have a positive test, or a family or a kiddo, and am I going to have to call all of these families and hope that they are not living with someone who could potentially be in real danger here? It's all quite terrifying, honestly.
Wow. Thank you, Amy. Elizabeth.
I think, you know, there are so many concerns, and it's hard to know which to put or address first. You know, when you spend your life advocating for children and families and teachers, and you're in a moment of how do I advocate for all of them? You know, one decision impacts the other, and it's not necessarily in a positive way. You know, one of our biggest concerns is the health and well-being of our teachers. These are our professionals who haven't necessarily been valued in society, their work being valued in society, and now they're being asked to support the entire social system while putting their health at risk, without additional compensation, you know, without the necessary support I feel that they deserve. And what that does, you know, they're putting their physical well-being as well as their mental well-being at risk right now, and that's a hard thing to think about. Even though we're you know, we're doing a lot of like support and offering, you know, self-care and trying to create systems where when children are back, you know, we're trying to take care of each other and ourselves, but it's still a really hard situation to ask a person to be in, especially when they are possibly in that vulnerable population. You know, do you ask someone who has health issues, you know, this is your career, what you've dedicated your life to, and your health is on the line here. So those are concerns. And then we also, in relationship to the children, you know, how do we cultivate spaces for young children that are developmentally appropriate, engaging, creative, while also putting into place all of these requirements from public health and the state and licensing? And how do you physically distance an infant from their caregiver? And how do you ask a teacher to wear a mask for 8 hours a day and support children's social emotional development when they can't see their face? So those are the big ones that we're working with. And then again, just rebuilding the enrollment so that we can keep our staffing stable and consistent.
Thank you. Wow. We're nearing the end of the time. Ashley Edwards, if you could add anything.
I don't necessarily think I have anything new. I feel like I'm kind of echoing what everybody else is saying, that it's concerning to try to juggle. You want to provide a livelihood for your teachers, but to do that, you have to have children attending, and you can't have any more children attending without risking maybe a case of COVID where you have to call the families and say, we put your family at risk. And it's just this big juggling act where you want to do what's in the best interest of everybody, but everything contradicts the other piece of it. And you can't make one decision without wavering in the other. And it's just really tough to move forward.
Thank you, Ashley. And Ashley Jackson.
My biggest concerns coming up are and things that we've already kind of seen right now to share with you guys is just the general stress that we've seen in families and kids. And it seems to cause, just this anxiety that's constant. Everybody's doing fine, but it's just like this 1 second teachers may be crying, 1 second kids may be screaming, just this explosion of emotions that nobody knows how to handle or go with because the world's under so much stress right now. So that's what's my biggest concern, is how this is going to affect kids and families and our business long term.
Wow. Thank you. Bob, do you want to take over since it's about 5 minutes left? You're still on.
There we go. How's that? That should be a little better. Yes, thank you all for a very both thoughtful and revealing hour. We really appreciate you all taking the time, especially, those who are operating today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. We'll get things going. I just wanted to say 2 or 3 things, and then we'll close off. The first is these sessions have been sponsored, I didn't quite make this clear at the beginning, by Longmont's Early Childhood Community Coalition, which has been up and running. And we had been really thinking seriously about public policy, going through February, or early February at least. And then when this, when the pandemic hit, we decided it was time to do some listening. So you all have participated in the last listening session. We've run 6 of them. And we've really learned a lot, both about the issues that are sort of immediately facing families, but also the emotional side of the business. And that never happens you don't get that perspective in a survey. It takes a conversation like we've gone through tonight. So thank you all for participating. The other sponsor is the Early Childhood Council of Boulder County. Rick works with them. Danielle Butler is the executive director. And I happen to be on the board of that organization. We are likely to continue. There's a conversation underway about how to engage the business community so that it understands both what parents are facing, what you folks as providers are facing, and how early childhood impacts their businesses. But that hasn't been set up. But if you all are interested, please pay attention to the networks that you all are engaged in, because we'll say something about it going forward. It will not happen until well after the 4th of July week and the following week. So with that, I think we will say good night and thank you. And again, just to remember that the highlight summary will be available probably by the end of the week or early next week, since this is a holiday weekend. And the recording is also available. So if anybody wants to kind of relive the experience, you can do that by contacting either Kathy Hall or myself, and we'll get you the right information. So thanks so much, and good night, and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks a lot.